All right. Okay. Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to Fanshawe College's virtual open house. My name is Priyank Mistry, and I work in International Center of Fanshawe College. I will be your host for today's session. But before we begin, I would just like to mention a few housekeeping notes here, which are our audience. So participants' webcams and mics are turned off. So whoever is participating in this session will not be able to turn on their video or speak over the microphone, but that does not mean you are not able to participate or engage with us. If you have any questions about the session, please submit them in the questions feature. To open the question feature, click on the question mark on the right side of your screen if you are joining us from the laptop or computer, and at the bottom of your screen if you are joining us from the mobile phone. Following the session, we will have a live Q&A from questions submitted. We will try our best to answer and go through all the questions that you may have about this program. If you have any questions afterwards, we do recommend you to email us at international@fanshawec.ca. If you have multiple program opens and running on your computer, it might compromise your webinar experience. So we recommend that you take a moment now and close any open programs before we begin today's session. So once again, welcome everyone. We are excited to showcase what Fanshawe College's Interactive Media Specialist program has to offer. And now I would like to introduce our speaker of the day, Marco De Luca, who is the program coordinator for Interactive Media Specialist program at Fanshawe College, and who will be speaking about the program. Now, I'll be back again for the live Q&A, and I'm going to pass it over to Marco here. Marco, take it from here. Just a second.
Thanks so much, Priyank. All right, so I'm just gonna switch over to my presentation here, and we'll go from there. How's that looking? Everybody can see that, hopefully.
That's perfect.
Awesome. So as Priyank mentioned, my name is Marco De Luca, and I am the program coordinator for the Interactive Media Specialist program. So I'm going to take you through some slides here that talk about what the program is and what we do in the program. But let me kind of backtrack and just say thank you for attending this, and hopefully, we can answer all your questions and you get all the information that you need. So let's go ahead. So if I were to describe this program in a nutshell, I would say that it is an accelerated programming / code focused postgraduate program that positions students for immediate employment. And I really want to emphasize that it is programming code focused. So we do a lot of programming in this course. And the second portion that I want to focus on is that we position students for immediate employment. We have a very high success rate for students getting employment after they graduate. And this is due to the fact that we talk with a lot of the agencies in town, and we make sure that the content that we are teaching in this program is relevant to what they do in industry. So students typically, who graduate from the program will find themselves in the three following categories, I would say. Front-end web developer, back-end web developer, and full-stack developer. Now, that's not to say that, we graduate students who find other positions, because they do. Some go on to be, graphic designers or project managers. But I would say those three roles are where students will typically find employment. Now, if some of this is not meaning much to you, like what is a front-end developer, what is a back-end web developer, and what is a full-stack developer, you'll learn about that in the course. But a front-end web developer is somebody who designs, codes, and kind of handles the front end facing of a website. So when you're interacting with the design, the layout. A back-end web developer is somebody who handles the database and pulling data from the database, writing data to the database. And a full stack developer is somebody who does both. So what do we do in this program? Well, we build responsive websites. So websites that will scale all the way from mobile to desktop. So one website that fits many different screen sizes and devices. We also create database-driven web applications. So as I kind of mentioned previously, those are applications that interact with the database. So pulling data from a database, writing data to a database. We work with the Internet of Things, so Arduinos. That's something fairly new to the program. We also deal with user interface and user experience design. So that is laying out your pages, thinking about how users are going to interact with it and how we can give them the best experience. We also do a bit of mobile development. So we don't create native applications, but we do create what are called progressive web apps. So those are mobile applications that look and behave like native apps, but they're actually created with native web technologies, so HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So yeah, that's kind of a broad overview of what we do, but I thought I would, show some student examples. So this is an example of a responsive website that a student created in our program. And this is for a plant application. So this was the responsive site that they created for it. So you can see that it displays like that on desktop. That's kind of the bottom part of the site. And that's kind of the footer area. And then this is what the website would look like on a mobile device as well as a tablet. So you can see that the content shifts around and readjusts itself. So this isn't multiple websites, it's one website that is responsive. So that is, that's a big part of what we're going to learn to do. So writing the tags and the code and the CSS that allows us to do that, as well as designing the user interface and the user experience. This is a progressive web app that was built by a student, and it's an app that helps you kind of monitor your breathing and practice your breathing. So you can see the different screenshots here, and although you can't see it, it's actually animated. So the circle kind of animates and guides you through different breathing exercises. This was a web application that was built by a former student. So you can see here that it's a movie application. So it pulls data from a database to display different information about, specific movies. And this was built using something called View, and it ties into a Mongo database. So this is just a screenshot showing information about the movie when it's clicked on. That's what it looks like on a tablet. So it's also responsive, even though it's a web application. This was a project involved using Arduinos. So it's an Internet of Things project. It's an application that allows you to log in and actually monitor the health of your plants through various sensors. So you can, keep an eye on the moisture level of your plant, the temperature, the light in the room. It also gives you a history. So yeah, this is something that was created as well. This is another Internet of Things project. This one was a little larger scale. So this is a home monitoring system. So students actually designed and 3D printed Ollie, which is a little happy looking home monitoring system. And Ollie has various sensors that measure, the health of the room. So looks at gas, looks at lighting, looks at moisture and temperature, and displays all of that and saves all of that in a front end and a back end. So kind of breaking it down more specifically, in regards to coursework, you're going to be dealing with HTML5, CSS3, and JavaScript for your websites and web applications. We'll be looking at responsive as well as mobile first design, JavaScript, AJAX, and JSON workflows. We'll be dealing with JavaScript web APIs and frameworks, and as previously mentioned, progressive web application development. On the design side of things, you'll be looking at design theory and concepts, both for web and mobile development, UI and user experience workflows. You'll be doing your layouts using things like Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, as well as After Effects. And you'll look at layout and visual design at all stages of the application development. For front-end development, as I mentioned, we'll be using a library called Vue.js. We're also going to look at an advanced workflow using task runners, bundlers, and package managers. And we'll be dealing with physical computing as well as experiential design using Arduinos and sensor systems. Now on the back end, we'll be looking at JavaScript. So JavaScript backend software such as Node and Express, database workflows like MongoDB, and full mean stack applications. So JavaScript from all the way from the front end to the back end. You also look at deploying these sites and apps using services like Heroku, Cloud9, MongoLab. Now, to create the back end of your websites or apps, you're going to need to learn about back end coding languages, and PHP will be the language that we focus on. So you're going to learn about object-oriented coding practices. You'll look at what's called MVC architecture, which is model view controller. You'll learn about setting up databases, relational SQL database systems, as well as intermediate SQL, which is communicating with the database to run queries. You'll look at a very popular framework called Laravel. You also deal with content management systems, so allowing a user to add information to a database as well as display information, and also RESTful API development. And like I'm throwing a lot of terms and jargon and you know, kind of this specific terminology at you. And if you're understanding some of it, great. If you're not understanding all of it, that's okay. You're going to learn, you know, about all of these different programs, all of these different applications and workflows. Finally, you're also going to be building your own thesis project. And what that involves is creating your own design documentation as well as managing the project. You'll be taught and expected to implement different research methods as well as problem solving and independent analysis. In the past, we've done industry presentations and site tours, although with the current pandemic, I'm not sure how that would work out, but we would look into doing something alternative, as well as portfolio development. So your thesis project will be an integration of course material and other technology that you research. And what you're going to do is build your own unique application or service. So you'll create your concept for that and present that in term one. And then second term, you'll actually start to build it out. And that culminates in a final demo of your application, which occurs in April. And that is the Industry Night Showcase. And that's an evening where we invite all of our agencies in town and some out of town as well to come and look at all of your applications and for you to demo your work. And many students that evening find employment. Now, again, you know, due to pandemic, we would have to look at, you know, possibly doing something virtually, but, you know, we'll see how that works out in the future. We also offer typically internships, so that's something that we've done in the past, and we've had, you know, 2 to 3 companies participate in these internships. So they'll allow students to, and we even did this last year, we had Digital Echidna take in a couple of our students. So to summarize, through taking this program, you'll get exposure to industry standard software and hardware, industry standard libraries, frameworks, and techniques. And again, part of this is the fact that we have all these agencies as part of a panel, and we talk to this panel, and we're in constant communication asking them, you know, what does the ideal person coming into your workplace know? What skills do they need? And that is what we teach in this program. You get increased one-on-one time with a team of dedicated professors, and you'll get numerous opportunities to engage with agencies and potential clients. And that is it on my end. So if you have any additional questions, that's my email address there. So m_deluca3@fanshawe.ca. And if you have any other questions, I believe Priyank had a specific address. I think it was international@fanshawe.ca. So I would probably go with that email address. All right, I'm happy to answer any questions now.
Okay, thank you, Marco. That is correct. international@fanshawe.ca was the email address.
Okay.
All right. So thank you for providing such an insightful information about the program itself. And I hope our attendees got information that they were seeking about the program. And so thank you. Now we are
My
going to
pleasure.
move to the live Q&A section of the session itself. So once again, just to remind everyone or who is join us recently, you can ask us the questions right now from the question tab in your webinar settings. And we do have a number of questions coming up already, Marco. So I'm
Okay.
going to start with the first one here.
Sure.
Jonathan asks, how does IDP3, so everybody who is joining here or who doesn't know, I think it's an interactive media design program, compared to
That's
interactive media specialists differ in regards to exposure to the coding and design principle. And he also adds, will interactive media design be learning the same things covered in the coursework of IMS1? So basically, he's asking the differentiation between interactive media design compared to
okay.
interactive media specialist program.
Sure. So interactive media design is a 2-year program. So that's one way that it differs from interactive media specialist, because IMS is a 1-year postgraduate program. And really, we like to think of IMS as almost a continuation of IDP. So there is a little bit of overlap between the two programs, but there is a lot of content in IMS that is covered, that isn't covered in IDP. Now, that's not to say you have to have taken IDP to come into IMS. We take people from all kinds of different backgrounds into IMS. So there's that as well. So being a 2-year program, IDP has courses on like modeling things in 3D, getting into video. It covers a lot of ground. And the purpose of that program, I think, is to expose students to as much as possible. Whereas IMS kind of starts to narrow that focus down. So we really narrow it down to building web applications. So for example, Vue is covered a little bit in IDP, but we get quite in depth into Vue in IMS. A little bit, or there's a good amount of PHP covered in IDP, but the concept of object-oriented programming is not looked at all in IDP. Neither is Laravel. So yeah, I would say IMS is almost a bit of an extension. So some of the fundamentals that you're learning in IDP, we get much more in depth into in IMS.
Right. Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much for that answer,
Yeah.
Jonathan. I think it does provide you information about the differentiation between these two programs, and hope it helps. Moving on to the next questions. All right. So the next question student is asking is,
Sure.
what kind of a job our graduates get after completing this program? Meaning, what kind of a seniority level or what kind of an entry level job? Maybe if you can share some title of the job that students get afterwards graduating from this program.
Okay. So I guess that kind of depends on what kind of background you're coming to the program with. So a lot of our students find employment as junior front-end developers, junior back-end developers, or junior full-stack developers. Now, again, that's not to say those are the only positions, because sometimes we get students who come into the program with previous experience, university degrees and whatnot. So we have had students graduate and find themselves in, mid-tier or top-tier project manager roles as well. But again, that's going to depend, I think, on your prior experience. But yes, I would say primarily front end, back end, full stack developers are the roles that agencies are looking for and hiring for.
Great answer. Just from that particular answer, I have another questions coming up in my head right now, which is,
Sure.
what about the interactive media specialist industry within London, Ontario city itself? So if the
Okay.
students after graduating from Fanshawe, if they want to stay in London, are there
Yes.
any possible companies or ideas that you may have that our previous students would have gotten job within London itself after graduating from the program?
For sure. The industry here in London is actually really booming, and even during the pandemic, we still have agencies hiring and reaching out to us. Um, the interesting thing is we can't put out enough students for these agencies. They are always looking to hire skilled people. Um, so many of our students you'll find at companies like Digital Echidna, at Northern, at Arcane. There's many companies here in London that our students find employment at. There's actually a website called London Tech Jobs. I can't remember offhand if it's .ca or .com, but that
Yeah.
will show you all of the companies that are currently hiring in London, and you'll see that there is quite a bit. And you can even look at the job requirements and see how that almost lines up exactly with what we teach.
Perfect. That is a great answer. And yes, I do remember. I think it's a London Tech Jobs. I'm going to send a message to everyone in the chat here. So you get a chance to look at the website after these sessions. Do take a look at it. As Marco has mentioned, you will be able to see number of open positions within the tech industry itself, also specifically to the interactive media specialist program. So you get an idea of what kind of job requirements an employer has for the positions related to this program itself. Next question I have here is, because we have an international audience, a student is asking, as an international student, are there any pre-qualification required in terms of education before joining this program, aside from the English language requirements or any other type of requirements? Any specific requirements regarding education before applying to this program?
Yeah, so we're looking for a college diploma or advanced diploma, or some type of degree. Now, we do recommend that these diplomas or degrees are somewhat related to the program. So whether that's in interactive media, whether that's in graphic design, whether that's in visual effects. However, sometimes based on either work experience or other industry experience, we will allow students to come in and take the program. We've had students take this program who have like a fine arts degree, and they were able to come in and be successful. So it's not like you necessarily have to have a specific background in programming, but what I think is most important is that you realize what the course is, and it is a programming and coding course. So if you realize that's what you're getting into and that's what you want to do, then that's great.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That does answers a lot of other questions that we have from the audience. Just like there is a one straightforward questions from Ray. How much a grad can make a year after graduating from this program? I think it does answer itself when Marco mentioned that it depends on the background of the student and what
Right.
kind of interest they have while pursuing the program. So
Yep.
again, it varies, but it can be from a junior position to medium to senior level positions as well. And it can depend on your individual scenario. So if you do, Ray, if you do have specific questions about your applications, you can always reach out to us at international@fanshawe.ca, providing some information about your educational background, and we can reach out to Marco, or you can reach out to him directly and get some insight on what kind of possible options you may have after graduating from this program. Moving on to the next question. Uh, uh, yes. So the next question here is,
Mhm.
aside from London tech jobs, are there any other place within Ontario itself that students can take a look at right now, just to get an idea about the industry itself, because of the pandemic?
I don't have any specific resources handy, like London tech jobs. However, you know, it's a booming industry everywhere. Toronto's a huge employer. Calgary, there are lots of cities outside of London that are hiring. In fact, many of our students do go to these other cities. Again, not because there isn't jobs in London, but oftentimes they're coming from these other cities, or they want to work for much larger agencies. But yes, like we've got students in all kinds of different cities. And again, this industry, despite the pandemic, is still quite actively hiring. In fact, on one of my LinkedIn connections, there's a company called Jam3 where one of my former IMS students is employed, and they're hiring for multiple different roles. So yes, there are jobs out there in other cities, but unfortunately, I don't have other resources like London tech jobs to point you to specifically.
Correct, correct. That's still a great answer, because I think you also mentioned before that we at the college cannot provide enough graduates for this jobs in this industry. So that's a
Yes.
really great point in itself. And
Yes.
I think now we are coming to the closing of this session.
Okay.
So thank you very much, Marco, for providing all the informations.
My
For the
pleasure.
students here, I have some housekeeping notes again before we end. So now we have reached to the ending of the session, and thank you for everyone who has participated and submitted the questions as well. We hope that we answer all of your questions in regard to the Interactive Media Specialist program. If you think of many more questions or have any questions regarding the admission or eligibility criteria, or want to find out about the job market for this particular program, please do send the questions and reach out to us at international@fanshawe.ca. Or if you would like to book an appointment with our recruiters from your regions, so no matter which side of the globe you are joining us from, you can find our recruiters from your country and then book an appointment with them at fanshawecollege.as.me. So anybody who joined us later on in the session, the recording of the sessions will be available afterwards as well. So if you have missed anything, please do watch out on your email of the registration, and you will receive the recorded links there as well. Once again, thank you very much, Marco, for providing all
My
the
pleasure.
insightful
Yeah.
information about the program. And thank you everyone for joining us. Have a wonderful day, evening, night, afternoon, wherever you are from the any part of the world. Thank you.